Today's episode of Demystify Selling with Microsoft. And I'm excited for the conversation today. We're going to have a conversation with Robert Washington. So, Robert, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for our call. I've followed you for a long time on LinkedIn. You're very active there. You do a lot of great stuff on LinkedIn. So, I'm super excited to kind of pull back the curtain with you and chat more about your role at Microsoft.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm excited about this conversation. I think I've followed you a little bit through Carson Heedy. So
Yeah.
excited that we was able to catch up with each other. So,
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. So,
yeah.
well, let's do this. Before we start, maybe you could share a bit about yourself, Robert, and your journey at Microsoft with the audience, and then we'll dive into our topic for today.
Yeah. So as we all know, my name is Robert Washington. I've been here at Microsoft for about 3 years. I always like to say this, but I took the untraditional kind of path to technology. So I was a military veteran, joined the U.S. Navy just days after 9/11. After that, I competed as a professional mixed martial arts, and some type of way, shape, form, and fashion, I found my way into tech. So I'm here at Microsoft. Spent some time at Gartner prior to Microsoft, but I love it here, and I love working with my partners and my customers, so and my internal team.
Yeah, no, it's a real interesting journey you've had. So I love that, and thank you for your service. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Uh, So let's talk about our agenda or our show today. And the agenda, or what we're going to talk about, is whose agenda are you focused on? And this is something that for me is really something I spend a lot of time talking to partners about, and really helping them understand how they look at the world and stepping into your shoes. So, you know, when you so let's for context, let's talk about your role itself inside of Microsoft. So, what sort of solution area are you focused on?
Yeah, so I'm a power platform specialist. So where I work on our low code, no code application development platform. I cover about 6 states in the Southeast, states being Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. And my whole role is to evangelize and sell the technology throughout the states.
And so it sounds like you cover a lot of geographic territory there. So I imagine you're covering a whole bunch of accounts.
Wow.
That And so, do you, I guess one of the questions I've got then is what type of partners do you work with to scale across those accounts? We think of, systems integrators, managed service providers, all the different types of partners. What partners are in your sort of world that you work with? They integrate?
We work with our ISVs. We also work with our reseller partners, also the resellers who sell the licenses, and then we also, with the ISVs, we work with our some of our partners that actually implement the technology. So we sell the licenses for the most part, and our partners implement the technology.
Okay, so you're working with sort of a cross section of both systems integrators, deployment partners, as
Mhm.
well as ISVs. So you're really seeing the sort of big breadth of the large breadth of partners and the partner ecosystem. So,
Correct.
one of the things that really I was excited, you and I had talked in the past about some of the best practices that you see partners bring to the table and some of the practices that you think would be most valuable to you and your team. So I'd love it if we could dive into that and really start to pull apart those best practices.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of best practices that's out there, but what I've seen that really helps me as a seller and also could help the partner at the same time is just understanding each organization's targets are not stored, right? We know targets drive behavior, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding what's Robert's and also it's Robert's organization, right? State and local government, uh, business applications, what's our North Star and aligning to that. But in combination, me understanding what's the motivators for the partner. What do they try to do from a revenue perspective? Like what are their mission? What what are their go to market strategy? And me aligning to that. I think bringing that information to the table, it helps, I guess, accelerate or enhance that partnership or relationship between we both because we both understand what's the motivator for Robert to work with the partner and vice versa. What's the partner's motivator to for Robert to work with the partner and vice versa. But I think that's the biggest thing is taking the time and doing that little research to understand what is Robert's and the partners kind of North Star to say. Like what's going to wake Robert up? What motivates him in reference to like driving new revenue, net new pipeline, open up
Mhm.
opportunities that we might have not opened up without the partner. Like I think understanding that piece of information is a key first step to building, like making a great first impression with Microsoft sellers and helping to enhance those relationships over time.
I love that. And that really brings us back to that agenda, really understanding,
Yeah.
whose agenda are you focusing on? So, as a partner, I might be motivated to sell my services, but
Mhm.
I need to understand that you, Robert, as the Microsoft face of the organization, you're motivated by getting those licenses, by having the
Exactly.
end customer use the
Yeah.
licenses. So I love that it's take the time to step back and understand what you need to be successful. And let's chat about the concept of landing and expanding.
Mhm.
That's a big part of what I think. Just hearing you in your intro there, the number of customers you've got to touch. One, landing has got to be a challenge, but
Yeah.
then staying with those customers and expanding, what is the value you see from the partner community in that strategy of both land and expand?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, if you think about Microsoft, right, and the way we're orchestrated or organized, I cover a lot of accounts, a lot of
Mhm.
accounts. And there's a blessing and there's a curse, right?
Yeah.
Because I cover a lot of accounts, I could be stretched extremely thin, right? And so what I see a value from our partner coming in with this land and expand strategy is when we go in, we build a relationship, we evangelize the technology, we align the technology to the organization goals. We set the technology as a foundation, and the organization's like, okay, we want to leverage the technology enterprise wide. I see a partner coming in and can help us by being that expand motion, right? We come in, we land the technology, and the partner comes in and do the due diligence to go find additional use case to really grow this opportunity that was maybe a 50, 100K opportunity from a license perspective to maybe 500,000 dollar opportunity, right? And then with that, there's a lot of service opportunity for the partner because more use cases they uncover, which drives more services revenue. So just staying there for a moment, right? And not trying to, I always like to say this, throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks and go from one account to another account to another account. If we just stay there for a moment, do a little bit more due diligence, build relationships with the customer, and go and seek, do some envisioning workshops, and go in and seek and find other use cases to really create this what's once was a smaller opportunity to a bigger opportunity. I think is magnificent, but also you become an extension of who I am.
Right.
Now, every time I come into account, I know I need my let's just use the term my assistant or my extension to my team with me because I understand that hey, if we go in together, our opportunity to close big business, 10x, right?
Yeah. I love that. And I love the concept of creating the trust to be
Mhm.
seen as an extension of you and your team. Because, to your point, you've got to cover and talk to so many customers. You don't have the capacity to stay and really go 100 miles deep and 100 miles wide.
Yeah,
You've got to choose one, and the partner that can help you go that 100 miles deep is got to bring massive value to you and
a lot of
your
that.
team.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
So let's talk about on the sort of landing side then. A lot of times I talk to partners and they show up and they ask, well, why am I not getting leads from Microsoft?
Mm.
And I'm like, guys, you have to understand that this is
Yeah,
a relationship. It's
yes.
add value, get value. And so, I talk to partners about the strategies that help you find new opportunities. So, how important is that to you to really have a partner that's willing to, get in the trenches with you and find new
Yeah.
opportunities?
I think it's important. I think number one is like going into the every conversation with no expectations. So if you
Yeah.
go in the conversation from a partner perspective, expecting Microsoft to just throw leads at you, then you'll be you'll probably be disappointed because you're going there with these high expectations that's not going to meet. Just like any relationship, any partnership, like you said, value has to be exchanged both ways. So for me, you know, a partner can get me really, really well, right? And I think a lot of our sales reps, by number one, is having a strategy around, getting the licenses, right? At the same
Mhm.
time that they're getting the services, having a strategy around the land and expand motion, but
Mhm.
also having a strategy, having an idea or an agenda prior to that aligns to my agenda, right? For example, you go out and do the strategic research of the company or the organization. You come in with a game plan, Robert, based off this, this, and this. Here's what we should focus on. Here's the reason why, and here's the impact to you and to me, right? So it becomes a mutual agreed upon plan, and you come in there and like going back to what I was saying earlier. A lot of times these sellers they don't have the bandwidth. So like now you're helping me make my job easier by doing this research to get in the door, right? So every conversation you should be bringing value, insights to the conversation that's going to lead to an opportunity. If you're just coming to the conversation with your hand out,
Yeah.
then it's more of a transaction. Is it truly a relationship? Is it truly a partnership? Is it just me giving back to you? And I think the expectations have been set sometime that Microsoft should provide leads to partners. And I do believe that, but it has to be a partnership. It has to be an exchange, right?
I loved how you sort of articulated that coming and asking for leads, it's a transactional relationship, and that's not what we're looking for. It's you'll be one and done
Yeah,
at that rate. But
yeah.
I think you also touched on something that it was kind of glossed over it, but the ability for a partner to make your job easier.
Mm,
That's got to bring massive value because large company, Microsoft has got lots of layers and lots of things that you need to tackle, both with the customer and behind the scenes. So when a partner can come in and take some of that heavy lifting off of your plate for the customer facing activities, that's really got to be a ton of
yeah,
value for you.
yeah. And who do you think is going to be my go-to partner, right? And even from an unbiased perspective, I just feel like which partner is going to help more revenue from Microsoft, right?
Mhm.
And this is what it comes back to. Because if you're freeing up my time, then you've given me time back to work with my customers, and that's going to drive more revenue for Microsoft. So it seems like a very simple approach, but I think it's overlooked. It's overlooked because if you don't have habits, if you didn't build a system of habits and rituals of like every conversation, let me bring value to the conversation, then that can be glossed over, right? I think it's something that you have to develop that muscle. That it's the same. It's the same kind of orchestration we take with our customers, right? Every conversation with my customer, I should be bringing insights, either around our technology, around industry insights, is going to help them make better business decisions. If I'm not doing that, then am I doing a due service to my customer, right? And
Right.
how am I being a good partner, a strategic partner, right?
No, that's great. And you talk about communication. Maybe you can talk a bit about how important it is for you that the partners are communicating with you. That it's not just, hey, here's the opportunity and they're gone. How important is for you to stay in touch with that, whether it's just a quick email or a Teams message. Do you find that valuable for you when a partner communicates openly and effectively?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of over communication rather under communication. So
Mhm.
I personally prefer a partner to over communicate with me. And I think the value I get out of over communication is I can communicate to the customer more effectively, right? Because when a lot of times these customers they only see us as Microsoft.
Yeah.
Sometimes they see the partners, but after it takes them a while, especially new into the relationship, and they're just getting used to work with partners. They look at us all in the same. So if they reach out to me or reach out to one of my partners, they see us all as Microsoft. So
Mhm.
the communication should flow both ways. And if you restrict communication, you restrict the ability to build relationships, and you restrict the ability to drive revenue within the organization. So it all starts with communication. So I think, and I try to do my best at it also, overly communicate, keep updates, right? Because if a CIO or CEO calls me at the and I need to be able to understand without having to go through multiple different communication channels where we are on this deal, right? What are the resources we need to support them? So I think communication at the end of the day is going to affect the end customer, right? More than anything. So we got to make sure that we're strong. So I love the whole premise around over communicating. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it at all, me personally.
No, I love that, and I think you're right on the money there. I mean, it's
Mhm.
you know, you have to show up as a unified front and you have one single message. And that makes it easier for the customer to understand. It makes it easier for us to help that customer through the journey of, procuring Microsoft technology and leveraging that technology. So I love the fact that, your motto is to over communicate, because that's a hard thing to do in today's world where people are moving fast, but
Yeah,
we do have to stop and communicate. So
yeah.
that's great. I appreciate that. Let's talk a bit about um, the solution designations for partners. So if the partners are showing up, how important is it for you to know that they have gone through the Microsoft Partner Center, that they've acquired or they've obtained their solution designation, particularly around business applications in your world, but more generally, how much do you put weight on that?
Well, it's just like anything, right? I think, for example, the low code, no code application development create a lot of hype in the market, right? So
Mhm.
with that hype, you get a lot of partners that want to come in and they just want to like go back to what I say. I always say this: throw spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks, right? Just go out
Yeah.
there and kind of shoot their shot at opportunities without a strategy, right? So that designation helps. Um, I guess differentiate those who are just throwing their shot and those who are seriously about really growing revenue from a power platform, a business applications perspective, right? You've done all the prerequisites to make sure that you're the most qualified partner for the job, right? And that's just like any job interview. You got to make sure that you do all the work to be prepared for it, right? And when you don't have those, then it's just like you're just trying, you don't have a strategy, right? It's just like you're going out there, you're just trying to drive revenue to meet your needs. So I think that helps differentiate those who are serious and those who are just trying to shoot their shot, just to be honest. And this is kind of me being a little bit candid.
No, I think it's great, and I love the analogy of it's,
Yeah,
you wouldn't apply for a job that you're not qualified for, or you
mhm,
might, but
yeah,
you might have less chance than someone that is qualified. So I
yeah,
love that. Well, let's do a little role playing here, if you're open to it.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
if I'm a partner showing up for the first time on your calendar, and you've never met me, what is it that you want to hear from me as a partner to start to make the decisions in your mind whether you're a good fit as a partner to work with or not? So just
yeah.
the few things that come top of mind for you.
I think understanding like how I get paid, number one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you can do your research to understand that. So if a partner comes to me and say, Robert, look, I know that you're incentivized by driving power platform revenue, right? I also understand that, there's several different accounts within your patch that are dark and underpenetrated. Here's a compelling new event or legislation that was just passed that would drive X amount of revenue if we was to position this solution, right? Something like that. That was very kind of high level, but like I just having a plan that
Yeah.
aligns to the goals. I think understand how I get paid because sometimes you have a partner that comes in and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but that's a part of building any relationship. You have to do a lot of work in the beginning, and vice versa, right? If I reach out to a partner, I'm gonna have to do that level of work too, understand their goals. So, but sometimes, yeah, you might get in a situation where partners come in and they don't even understand what technology you sell. They don't understand how you get paid, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that to say if you're able to go back and do the work, right? Because it's a learning experience for us all. So like, let's learn from that. Let's go back and do the work, or let's ask the questions, and let's come back with some type of agenda or plan that aligns to both of our goals, right? Because it's only a matter of time before the system that we're currently operating, that some partners are currently operating in, will break. The Microsoft a handout. Microsoft's going to give me leads. Like the market is so competitive right
Yeah.
now. We need everybody at the table, right? We need everybody at the deck, working with these partners, doing strategic, working with our customers, doing the strategic level work research to be competitive from a business applications perspective. We have to, and it takes a whole team of resources, not just Microsoft resources, but the partner ecosystem resources also. So having some of that stuff baked out, having a plan, understanding some compelling events that's going to drive the need of some of our technology, even coming with some templates of outreach, right, to get the conversation started, or maybe some political folks that you can speak to, some legislation. All of that stuff is super helpful for us here at Microsoft, but also for the partner to help build those relationships both ways.
I love that. I mean, I think you just laid out the perfect strategy for a partner to get on a call. We're really in your world or any Microsoft seller's world is to, show up understanding what's important to you is what I heard. Then show up with a plan. Don't just show up and say, "Hey, what do you got?" It's no, show up with a plan. Spend some time researching the types of customers that you, Robert, work with and what might make sense for them. And take it even a step further, show up with some executable steps of,
Yeah.
hey, let's go after these, underpenetrated accounts, or let's go after these white space accounts, whatever it might be. But knowing or showing up, having that plan, I love that, Robert. That is, I mean, that is gold right there. So if, one of the questions I always ask is, what is the one thing to take away from today's call? Well, I think you just gave 5 things to take away.
No, I love it. Yeah, I've learned a lot. I'm definitely not a know-it-all. I think I've learned this through experiences both ways. Me not being prepared, and also the partners not being prepared. So, like, once you learn, right, you just do better, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's opportunity for us to strengthen relationships and all from all different perspectives when it talks about Microsoft and our partner ecosystem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that, we're always all learning. And I mean, the technology is just, the innovation that's going on inside of Microsoft today is crazy. It's mind boggling. So
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
think of Copilot and the amount of discussions we can be having with clients and customers around Copilot, even for those customers that may not be ready for it today, just laying the groundwork. And so, just going back to that framework you laid out there for partner conversations, having those types of innovative discussions it's got to be so much value. So I love this conversation, Robert. It's been fantastic. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. But before we wrap up, if anybody wants to learn more about Robert, where's the best place to go?
LinkedIn, Robert Washington on LinkedIn. I think typically I'm always posting something inspirational. Not that much, not as tech related, but if you just need some inspirational content just to keep you going, LinkedIn.
I can vouch for that. I look forward to my morning fix of Robert's posts. So thank you for that, Robert. And thank you again for sharing your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
Take care.